Hi, I'm Wally. Welcome to Halalnivore. Today, I'm going to show you how easy it is to cook good steak at home. Today, we've got a sirloin steak here from Halalnivore. And the beauty of the sirloin is that it's quite meaty, but it's got this nice bit of fat on the top. So it's very suited to cook in the oven. Now, the method I'm going to show you today is actually the fine dining or gourmet method. But the first thing we have to do is actually prep the steak a little bit. So you've got your steak, and remember that you have to leave the steak out so it comes to room temperature. Otherwise, when it cooks, it just cooks not unevenly. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually put some olive oil on it. And you can use any olive oil. Extra virgin is better just because it tastes just that much bit better. So I'll just put a little light drizzle on, and then I'm just going to rub it in just to get it all over, and then of course turn it over. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Halalnivore's Middle East marinade. It's got quite a nice onion, garlic, and chili flavor. So I'm just going to be liberal with it and just pop that on there. And the reason I put the olive oil first and not the marinade was normally when you put the marinade and you put the oil on it, then actually you're just washing away the marinade. So, I'll put it in, rub it in quite well, turn it over. So yeah, once the marinade is in there, you want to leave it for about 2 hours to really, get the flavor in there. And then after 2 hours, what we're going to do is put it in the oven for about 20 minutes on 140. So what you're doing is you don't want to completely cook it. You're lightly cooking it from the inside out. So the moisture stays in the steak, but because of the fat of the sirloin right there, what happens is that the moisture stays in and the fat becomes nice and soft, and then we have an extra step that I'll show you later. So I've taken the steak out that we prepared earlier, the sirloin, out of the oven. As you can see, it's not like completely cooked, but it is a little bit cooked, which is where we wanted it, but the fat is nice and soft on the top. So what I'm going to do now is, again, always have the hottest pan available, right? So I'm just going to put some olive oil in it, just a little bit, and then I'm going to put that steak that came out of the oven in this hot pan so that we sear the edges again to lock that flavor in. So I'm just going to give it like 30 more seconds. It's quite hot. I can feel it from here. I'll just take that steak and I'll pop that on there. And as you can see, it's nice, it's searing nicely. So yeah, leave it for like a minute on each side. Just push it down a little bit so you really get the searing going. Remember, there's marinade on it already, so it's got a nice flavor on it. And then, just once it's seared on one side, turn it over. You don't need to turn it over all the time. Just keep at it and let it sit for a bit. The one thing about steaks is be patient in the sense that don't constantly prod it. Just leave it. Yeah. So you can see it's seared nicely, nice and brown. Now, here's the trick about cooking it like a gourmet fine dining restaurant, and the trick is butter. So all you have to do is take a little bit of butter, and I'm just going to take a little bit of, you can never have enough butter, but you just have to be a bit careful because you don't want to make it too buttery because then it takes away from the steak. So I'll just put that in the pan, and then I'm going to throw in some rosemary and thyme into the butter and just let it kind of sit there. So what we're doing is we're herbing the butter, and I'm going to throw in a clove of garlic, okay? And as I'm doing that, I'm just kind of pat it down like that. Actually, I might need a little bit more butter. But what you want to do is also turn the heat down a little bit, just because you don't want the butter to burn. I'm going to add a little bit more butter Okay, and then once you feel like it's got a bit, mixed up and all that, you take the butter and you baste the steak. Okay, and what we're doing is really just getting that herb and the thyme and the rosemary really mixed in with that butter. Okay, and then taking it and basting it. Okay, and the beauty of that is that the edge of the steak really becomes nice and flavorful. Okay, so almost there. I'm going to turn it over in a minute and then let it. But I can really smell the rosemary and thyme. It's a beautiful herb. The rosemary always generally goes well with meat, thyme too. So I'm just going to turn it over. Use the butter again on the same side. Just turn the heat up a little bit again, just to keep it going. You can take the rosemary and the thyme and just kind of bat it into the steak a little bit to get that flavor in also. And I just generally rub it in. So it's almost done. Let's make sure that it is done. Yeah, looks done. And we'll take it off and plate it up. And then let it sit for another, 2 or 3 minutes. So the steak settles a little bit. The juices kind of flow in evenly inside the steak. And there you go. That's your gourmet, fine dining style steak made at home. Enjoy it. So the steak, as it had a chance to rest, I can really smell that rosemary and thyme and that garlic butter. So I'm sure it'll taste amazing. What I've done is just made some chips on the side, steak and chips. Never can go wrong with that. I'm using my steak and chips sprinkle from Halalnivore, and that's going to be on the website soon. It's a beautiful flavored salt, so I'm just going to pop that on the chips a little bit just to give it a bit of flavor. Let's cut through it and see how it tastes. And once again, always when you cut a steak, I try and kind of tell you, always say cut against the grain. On a sirloin, I like to cut it like long strips, and as you can see, it's cutting nicely, juicy, all the flavors and the juices are coming out. We'll cut it like that, and you can see it's still pink inside, which is what we wanted. Seared edges, nice and brown, and let's give it a go. That's a good steak. Why not go online, order a 8-ounce sirloin, and you saw how easy it was to get good quality. Sorry, shouldn't speak with my mouth full, but homemade steak that's equal to fine dining. So enjoy it, and that once again, that was the sirloin steak, pan fried right at the end, but I put it in the oven and with a herbed rosemary, thyme, and garlic butter. Thank you.